So first off, I want to welcome you to our final National Academy of Construction Ask Me Anything webinar for the fall 2024 semester. My name is Susan Bogus. I am an NAC member and chair of the Gerald May Department of Civil Construction and Environmental Engineering at the University of New Mexico. And co-moderating with me is NAC member Burcin Becerik-Gerber. Burcin is a professor and department chair of the Astani Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering at the University of Southern California. The theme for this semester is entrepreneurship in the design and construction industry. First off, a little bit about NAC. The National Academy of Construction was established in 1999 to recognize our industry leaders. An important purpose of the Academy is to share the collective knowledge and experience of our members to improve the industry. We have established the Ask Me Anything webinar series to help transfer knowledge of our members to our next generation of construction leaders, with this webinar providing a means to link past and present participants in the construction industry. Our sponsors this year are the University of Florida Rinker School of Construction, Arizona State University, Del E. Webb School of Construction, and the University of Colorado at Boulder Construction Engineering and Management Program. The format for these webinars is simple. Our speakers will make a short presentation about a topic and their perspective on the industry, followed by time to answer your questions. If you haven't submitted your questions yet, please email them to nacama@austin.utexas.edu. We will put that in the chat also for you if you want to submit questions. At the end of this webinar, one student will be randomly selected to win a $500 scholarship, which we will announce at the end of this event. Now on to our speaker for tonight. Paul Foster is president and CEO of Foster CM Group in San Antonio, Texas. He earned a bachelor's degree in architecture from Texas Tech University. Paul is responsible for managing the day-to-day operations of the firm's offices in Texas, Florida, Arizona, Denver, and the Pacific Northwest. A native of San Antonio, Paul previously served as a QA field manager for a top 100 project management firm based in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. There, he was responsible for the daily coordination of the project team, preparing bid packages, change management, QA inspections, vertical and horizontal, document controls, architect, engineer, and contractor coordination, and client relations. Earlier in his career, he worked for an award-winning architectural and planning firm and was responsible for planning, constructability analysis, design development, construction documents, and contract administration on numerous additions and renovations to educational and commercial projects. In 2020, he was inducted into the Construction Management Association of America, CMAA, College of Fellows. He has served as a board member of the Hemisphere Park Area Redevelopment Corporation, a board member and advisor to the Texas Tech Alumni Association, and as a member of the CMAA National Board of Directors. Welcome, Paul, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you for that introduction, and thank you, students, for coming out and being a part of this. And I really appreciate this. This is an opportunity to me to reflect back on 40 to 45 plus years of time when I was maybe sitting in the seats that you are now occupying as students matriculating through academia. So with that being said, you're really at a great point in time in your career. I think the outlook is very bright. I was just on a meeting here with our staff, and one of the things that we're having a problem finding is qualified people. The industry is full of needs, and in the AEC industry, I don't think there's any shortage of opportunities that should be coming your way as you leave the university setting, or if you're going into research and development and you're continuing in that field, there's a lot of needs. As you know, the construction industry, for one, is probably one of the industries that has not kept pace with the fast-moving advancements in technology and other aspects that we would like. So we need very academicious students and scholars that can come up with better ways to do things, build, whether it be making it faster, more effective and less expensive, and on time. So we usually sit in our industry, in the project construction management industry, three-legged stool is cost, schedule, and quality. So, and then obviously safety is always a part. So I thank you for this opportunity. I look forward to any questions that may come my way, and hopefully I'll be able to make this productive for anyone that's listening. So thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Paul, for that introduction. So I'll jump in with students' questions. So I'll be the voice for them. So I'll start with Lem Asayas' question. What inspired you to start Foster CM Group, and what challenges did you face in early stages of building your company?
Okay, great question. I had a very interesting path to starting Foster CM Group. I was actually working for my company was a PMCM firm, as was mentioned. It was headquartered out of Philadelphia. I was actually in Florida, Jacksonville, Florida, working on an airport. And back in San Antonio was an opportunity coming about for a dome stadium, which is now the Alamo Dome. And our company that I was working for was having a problem meeting subconsultant opportunities, and the city was at the point of saying, hey, you're getting ready to lose this opportunity if you can't build a team of related, I guess, diverse firms, okay? And what happened is they didn't know I had resigned from the company about 2 weeks before they were having this conversation in San Antonio. I was in Florida. I was scheduled to come back to San Antonio and had no opportunity, but my wife and I and little small children wanted to get close to their grandparents and parents. And our parents, and so we headed back. We were heading back, and the president of the firm had gotten a call from the regional manager in San Antonio and said, hey, listen, we're in trouble. And an idea came up, which I think is the craziest idea I've ever heard. They asked, would Paul be interested in maybe starting his business and becoming a sub to us? Now, keep in mind, I worked for that company as of 2 weeks prior to that. They didn't know it. But the individual that asked the question didn't know I had resigned. And he said, hey, have you not heard? Paul put in his 2 weeks letter of resignation. And he said, what? He said, what's going on? He said, well, he wants to move back to San Antonio. He said, I wonder would he be interested? So they called me with this presentation, this opportunity. I didn't let them finish the conversation. I said, heck yeah, this is an opportunity really for me to get in business, to start a business with the firm that I had just left. So the culture was there, the understanding of how they operated was there. And that's really how the company came about. Now, the thought was I would finish that job, which was a 2-year project, and I'd go back to work for them. And it's been 33 years since that happened, and I'm still chugging away in business. So that's really how it happened. It was unconventional. It's not the story that a lot of people like to say what they did a business plan, and I had no time for a business plan. It was just get to work. Didn't even have computers. Were not even well, they had DOS. I didn't know how to use that, and it was It was just brain power, paper, and treading through some scheduling and whatnot. So that's how I got started. That's how I got started.
Well, sometimes things work themselves out in life, and
They work out. They work out.
Yes, yes, you have to be in the right time, right moment, and take the opportunities, of course, as well.
And
So
I'd say one thing on that, excuse me, I'd say don't be afraid to take risks. I think that's the biggest thing that I tell students is that a lot of times, not everybody's going to be in business, and it's just not for everybody. But when the opportunity comes about, seize the opportunity, take the risk. You're young, you will be young, you're young now. And if it doesn't work, you always get back on your feet. But it's hard to do it when you're 55 and saying, hey, I want to start a business. Well, the risk factor is much greater then. So don't be afraid to take a risk.
great advice. I'll follow with Robbie Morgan's question. In your role as the president CEO, do you find yourself turning for help when major challenges arise on jobs? And what are the traits of these people you ask or turn to?
Hey, Robbie, that's a good question. Always turning for help. Help is always hopefully on the way. But staff, I've always said that I hire people, and hopefully I'm not the smartest person in the room. If I'm the smartest person in the room, everybody's listening to me to come up with solutions to the problems. I'm hiring people actually so that they can tell me how to solve the problems, because I have a lot of things to do day to day that unrelated to a project at hand. There may be 30 projects within the company going on, and there's no way I can be the manager of all those projects. So when I call on people, most of the time it is staff. Now, outside of that are mentors. I have mentors from every angle of years where I started. I have people almost back from university, from time when I was in university, I can call upon and say, hey, listen, I'm in a bind here. How would you handle this? And I get positive feedback. Sometimes it comes from the least expected person. It might be someone, it might be my wife telling me, you're worrying about this, and why not worry about, well, you need to be thinking about this. And a lot of times you put blinders on and you say, how do you know? You've never been in this business. But then after you think about it, you go, wow, that was something profoundly delivered that I just didn't think about. So I think it's always important that you have an open mind and not be so closed-minded and say that I can do everything on my own, because this business, the AEC business, is so collaborative and so interactive, and it takes so many different pieces of the puzzle to get a product completed successfully, that no one person is responsible. I used to always hear contractors say, well, superintendents and executive, I built that building. I'm going, man, you didn't build that building. It took tons of people. It took, 300 people to build a building. So be careful on how you take credit for things that really belongs to a team and not just you. So I'm always calling upon people. But good question. Thank you.
Yeah, and I second your comment how important our staff members are to our operations. On that note, I'll follow up with Brandon Bernier's question. What is the best way to ensure that your company is running properly? And also, what is the best for you to connect with your staff?
Well, good question. There's a lot of ways to connect with staff. I'll give you a recent 2020 event that took place that affected us all, the pandemic, that changed the whole dynamic of how day-to-day communications happen. What happened during that time, we instituted during the pandemic what we call Friday coffee breaks. We were not able to be in the same office. People were working from home remotely and using what we're using right now, whether it be, is this Teams or Zoom? I want to give credit to where credit is due, but whatever, virtual means of communicating. And I came up with an idea of coffee break. I don't know what, I was maybe drinking coffees and said, hey, we need to have a coffee break. I need to touch and feel and talk to my people. And that was what, 4 years, and we're still having Friday coffee breaks at 10 o'clock every Friday. And it's probably the most collaborative thing that we do, that everybody's able to get involved and talk about issues, whether it's project related, whether it's administrative. So it brought us together, something that if pre-pandemic, we probably would have had to have 15 meetings per week to generate that type of collaboration. And now we do it in an hour, where everybody comes together. Well, not everybody, but management and some other technical come together. I invite always management, but then also invite periodically other technical field people in to say, hey, I want to hear your side of it. What's happening? And from that is we've been able to really move the needle and get some real positive insights that has helped the business to, I think, perform better. And at first people were like, why do we have to do this? And now when we miss it, because there may be a conflict, everyone's going, we end up going an hour and 20 minutes instead of an hour because we lost a week, and everybody's now looking forward to the coffee breaks. So yeah, that I don't know if I answered your question, but that's one of the things that we've used to keep people involved and whatnot.
I don't think anything replaces personal connections. Thank you for that answer, Paul. Ryan Domico is asking, what has been the most challenging aspect of leading a company with such a wide geographical footprint, and how have you overcome it? How do you maintain a culture over various locations?
That's a very good question. One of the things that's, because we don't do design engineering, it's less difficult to have multiple locations than it would be if we were design engineers or architects. We're a program construction management firm purely, which means we're owner's rep, trusted advisors for the owner. So we manage the architects and engineers and contractors to assure that projects come in on time, within budget and quality. So when we set about a team in a certain location, we may start off with a business development person just to try to develop that area of the country, whether it's the Pacific Northwest. We'll hire somebody to with the intent, usually what we call them is doer sellers, where they can do the work and they can sell the work. So they sell the work so that they can perform the work as a project manager. And then after they get on, their job is to also pull themselves off, replace them with someone else, and then market the areas to grow the area. So it's kind of, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes a client won't allow a person that has started a project to matriculate and get off of the project. And then sometimes we have to bring in a business development manager there. But there's always a challenge. Each area that we have worked, each region we've worked in have evolved in different ways. There's no set formula. We worked with a company in Texas and they have an opportunity in Orlando, and they say, hey, listen, we're going after this opportunity in Orlando. We had a great relationship here. So could you move someone from Texas to Orlando? Because we'd like to keep this this partnership going. So, and then other times it's like we may go, hey, North Texas or Dallas is really an area that we need to find a way to work to grow, because it's a very, very it's a profit center that we haven't tapped into, and we feel that we're missing out. So there are different reasons why you move in different regions to work. Nothing's the same. I don't think there's any. I found out in this business there's no set formula that is perfect. Things that kind of evolve into place, and it's good if you're not. I think it's good that if you're not very, very if your thought process is not just so concretely placed upon it has to be done like A, B, C, and D every time. I think when you're more flexible, then opportunities begin to come about. But if you're really, really tied into something being done a certain way, sometimes you can find yourself where you work yourself out of opportunities. So no set. It is difficult, but again, you have confidence in your people. If you don't have confidence, if you don't put confidence in your people and make them feel like that they're the part they bought into the company, then you won't really get them to perform. And you really need to let them say, hey, this is a risk. We're taking a risk. But risks are good, because if you don't have a problem, why are we in business? So our job is to create opportunities, solve problems for clients, and deliver products as best we can on time, within budget and quality.
Great, thank you. Talking about your people, I'll ask Nail's Nasser's question. How do you handle internal conflicts? And have you ever had to use sanctions or let go someone for a major mistake?
Yes. Yes, we have. And unfortunately, not as often as I would think. Now I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about some times where just people did things that, well, we've had times where someone tried to steal business from us and open a business and run a business off of our goodwill, which was just totally outside of the company policy, those type of things. And then there are people that have made mistakes. Now, when people make mistakes on jobs, if I can, or some other management or vice president can resolve the issue without terminating, I feel it's better, because mistakes lead to learning opportunities that can help not only that person succeed, but also it can help the company learn from the mistakes that were made. Not all the time can you save a bad situation, but if the situation can be recouped by the company, and company leadership walks in to the client and says, listen, we've learned something from this. And what we learned, we know won't happen again, because what happened was really something that we should have caught early, but we didn't. And being honest to the client, and sometimes a client, I've been in presentations where clients have asked us that question that you just asked. How do you resolve a situation that is just an absolute failure? And some people will say, we don't have failures. Bad answer. Everybody has failures. And one of the things you've got to be able to do is resolve those issues where that you can get back on track and move forward. Now, some of them are outside of the realm of correction, and it could be so daunting that you just have to shift into another gear, move staff, or eliminate someone for whatever reason. But I think this business that we're in is not a perfect science, a perfect art, whatever you may look at. Problems come about, and one of our biggest jobs in the AEC industry is to solve problems. No problem, no opportunity. So I think it's important that as you go through your career, you look at whatever mistake that you made and find a way to make that a asset instead of a liability for your future endeavors.
Okay, thank you. The next question is from Neda Gamari. You and I, Paul, share the architecture background, having architecture background, and this question is related to that. What skills or experiences from your background in architecture have been most valuable in your role as a CEO, managing day-to-day operations across multiple states? And as someone who has worked in both project management and architectural design, what advice would you give to students about balancing technical expertise with leadership and coordination skills in the construction industry? Sorry, that was long, but
No, good question, because most of the time it's said when you graduate from architectural school, you're really good in the planning, design, conceptual design, and things, but your managerial skills are, for some reason, people feel not as polished as maybe some other industry where it could be engineering, problem solving. I highly disagree with that, because I think one of the things that helped me most in the AEC industry, especially in the program management industry, is understanding from the conceptual stage to turning a project over what the design intent is from the designer. A lot of people get a set of drawings in the PMCM world, and they can only envision what they see on the line, the drawings. They say, okay, well, you know, there's a situation here where you just got to build it contractor build it the way you see it. Now, I've been in situations where I go, wait a minute, there's something missing here. The architect did not intend to do this. I can pick up the phone and say, hey, listen, I'm not getting into your design intent, but I am getting into your design intent, because something that I see on the drawings, I think you probably meant to do something like, and they, oh my goodness, yes, you're right. You're so right. Now, because it was caught before doing the constructability review stage, before the project was bid, we possibly saved that client X amount of dollars, where someone else would have just said, that didn't have the design background from an architectural standpoint, and said, well, whatever's on paper, there's what I have to imagine that they intended to do. And yeah, I don't know, it looks funny, but hey, that's what they designed. And they may not question that. And then that project goes into being bid and gets out and built in the field, and the contract, and the architect comes out and says, wait a minute, time out. It's obvious you should have known that there was an issue there. And someone that has not been in the design studio and understood the relationship between spaces and how things should go together may say, wait a minute, well, that's not my job. My job is to evaluate what you have designed and bid it and do a cost estimate estimate, and then the contractor takes us from there, and I'm following the construction documents that were awarded during bid day. Now, that person cost the owner X amount of dollars over and above what could have been saved through someone who understood the true design intent of that project. So I think your question, to answer your question, I think architecture is a very, very positive prerequisite for being successful in the construction side of things, if you so opt to get into that. I had no idea I'd ever get into this. I got into program and construction managed by accident. Actually, by 1980, well, I'll tell how old I am. 1985 was the savings and loan crisis, and architects were losing jobs every day. And there was an opportunity from a project management firm, which I worked for the 10 years that I did. And they were looking for someone that exactly what I explained, wanted to understand the design intent of the drawings, because it was a very complex project. It was it was a river walk in San Antonio. They were building a hotel that had to integrate with the river walk in San Antonio, and no one on that project management team understood how that might come together and how that might tie in. And they really thought they needed someone with architectural skills. So I applied and said, hey, I'll work on this thing for, maybe a year, and then I'll go back to working in an architectural firm. And I never looked back, because I fell in love, because of the fact that I always find myself involved in projects with some really top architects, and being able, although I'm not designing, I'm a part of the creativity, seeing the creativity come to fruition. So I would say that if there's a great transition between architecture and other aspects of the AEC industry, if you find yourself at a place where you're in a crossroad, don't be afraid, as I said in the beginning, to take the risk and migrate into something, whether it be project owner's representative, project management, construction management, because you will be an asset to the team.
Great. Great words of wisdom. I will continue with Everose Anastasio's question. Of the projects you have managed, is there a particular project that stands out as a defining moment in your career?
One project?
If you have more than one, maybe that's okay.
They're also different. And to be quite honest with you, I hate to say, but after a certain point in my career, I stopped being involved in day-to-day projects. I had to figure out how to keep projects coming into the office where others could feel the capacity of delivering the project. So unfortunately for me, I don't get out of this office enough to really walk in and get involved in projects day to day. Now, some people say, well, that's boring. That's not what I went to school for. Well, there's a time in your career, if you get into the ownership side, that you're not as involved with the day-to-day aspects of a project. But I think, to answer your question, I think because I'm really a sports fan, I think the AT&T Center, well, now the Frost Bank Center in San Antonio, was my favorite project, because after we finished that project, the San Antonio Spurs won 5 NBA championships. So that's that's my storybook, the one that I really cherish the most.
Great.
Not the most exciting, but it's the one that I have so many memories of.
It's hard to choose from all these wonderful.
Yeah, it's very hard. Yeah. Airports are really exciting, because it's like a city within a city, and we work on a lot of airport projects. So those are I would have to say those are probably the most exciting projects because there's so many user groups, there's so many key stakeholders, there's so much involvement. There's, you know, vertical, horizontal work, there's concessions, there's parking garage, there's all type of things involved. There's airlines, their users are just, you probably have 8 to 10 user groups, 8 to 10 clients on an airport that you have to satisfy.
Great. Next is Titus Stanton's question, and I'll be listening to your answer with extra ears here. How do you find time to build relationships with the family, with the busy work schedule of running and working with an up-and-coming business, especially when you have to be on the road and calls?
That's tough. You know, fortunately for me, I was able to be with my 3 children, and as they went through high school and graduated from college, I tried to get away, and I had a son that played sports, and well, another daughter that played sports, ran track in college. I always went to their events. I found a way to do it, even at the expense of me having to work weekends and work late and come back from a event that they had and come back to the office. So it was taxing. And even today, now that they're gone and on their own careers and doing what they're doing, it's still taxing on the family with me and my wife, because the understanding when I have to be in Seattle or I have to be in Dallas one day, it's kind of like, you know, when are you going to be at home? So now, unfortunately, I have to say this, sometimes our vacations are centered around my work. I just spend an extra week or two, or maybe 3 or 4 days when I'm in Seattle, and say, hey, let's make this a short mini vacation. So you try to pay service back to the family, even though it's maybe not the best vacation or best time. But that's a great question. I mean, it's always a challenge family wise. I mean, but you know, you have to mate and yoke yourself with someone that understands this is who you are, and this is what makes you happy. This is what you like to do. And then when you go around, when you're walking, you talk about things. If it was architecture, you'd say, hey, you know, the reason why this is this, you know, try to get them excited. And then before long, they end up telling you about, hey, isn't that a Corinthian column versus a Doric? Oh, yeah, you got this right. You're catching on with things, you know. Isn't that a grade being there? You know, walking around, oh, wow, you remember that? Yeah. And then, you know, you kind of share your life, and maybe hopefully they get addicted like you do. But it's a tough one to resolve. Everybody has to do it differently.
I agree. Find their own way.
Find their own way.
Next is Ella Surdika's question. Is there anything you would have done differently or have done something sooner at the beginning of your career?
Say this with a laugh, but it's not true. It's not all true. If I would have known that I was going to be doing what I'm doing right now, I probably would have majored in something that would not have been so time-consuming as architecture. Because I used to, you know, I would go when my children were looking to find going, you know, visiting universities. I would always tell them, I said, hey, I bet I can tell you where the architecture school is here. And it would be at night. And they would say, you don't know, you've never been to the campus. And I'd drive around and you'd see lights on. And it was like 12, you know, 11 o'clock at night. We'd come from eating somewhere. And I said, that's the architecture building. And they said, how do you know? And we'd drive around, and then, you know, 8 out of 10 times I would write, you see the marquee there, and you'd say the architecture. Because people were in studio working late. And I remember when I was in studio, I'd always, across from our architecture school was the business school, and the kids were out throwing frisbees, and we were up all night. So if I would do anything differently, but it would not have put me in the position I am in, I would say that I probably would have investigated other options, whether it be engineering or construction management, but I probably wouldn't be in this seat right now that I'm in, because that was meant to be. That was meant to be. What else would I have done differently? I would have taken more risk, to be quite honest with you. I would have taken more risk, calculated risk. Now, not just crazy, unthought of. It's not I would have taken more risk in my business, because I think I would have gotten further advanced. This business would have been further advanced if I would have taken on some opportunities that I said, no, I don't think that's the right thing to do, because I don't think we have the wherewithal to make it happen. So I tell everybody, taking calculated risk after you do it, and even if it doesn't work out, the gratitude you can get from that, and the learning and the advancement that you can get from that is priceless.
I agree with you. Lucky Ober is asking, how would you reinvest yourself with personal development? What are some of your advices?
What was that again? I'm sorry.
How would you reinvest in yourself with personal development?
Reinvest in myself?
Mm-hmm. I think one, reinvest in themselves.
Yeah, I would
professional development.
Well, professional development. I was going to say I would learn how to play golf better. But anyway, reinvest. Yeah, that's reinvest in myself. Probably, I hate to say this, the risk factor. I mean, the things that I did not do and that could have reinvested in my advancement. I look back on and I go, wow, greatly missed opportunity. But reinvesting in yourself is something that you kind of do every day, whether consciously or subconsciously, because even when you think you're not reinvesting in yourself, if you're moving the needle somewhat, that's reinvestment. You may not think you're getting to the plateau that you would like to, but if you're carving out a little bit more each day and doing something that's positive, and it doesn't have to be in the AEC industry, community involvement, all of those type of things are very important to your growth in this industry. I tell everybody, do not spend 95% of your time only dealing with things involving AEC. Get out, do things, get involved, do social events, and because that is what really crafts your. I remember when I was in college, and I'm going to tell you, and I hope, are these all students listening?
Yeah, all of them, yes.
Okay, I'm going to say this, but I'm going to tell you, do not subscribe to this. I remember in my senior year, prior to my thesis year, I had a professor in a studio that I never could get past a 75 on a project. I don't know, whatever it was. It was 70. And he was, I never will forget, he was a Harvard grad, and he was very, very, he had his theory on design was based upon something that I just wasn't into, but cool. He was the professor, and I had to do. And he told me something, because I was kind of outgoing. I was always playing sports, and I was always doing other things. And he said, there's something about you that you probably don't know now that is going to help you throughout your career. And I said, what? He said, you're probably going to always make a C in my class. And I went, wait a minute, that's not cool. Why would you tell me? He said, but because people seem to gravitate to you from, just socially, you're gonna be all right. And I said, well, that's not gonna help my grade. He said, but in the end, and he told me something that I never will forget, and I thought it was the worst thing he could ever tell me. He said, and students, do not subscribe to this. You have professors here, he told me, this is what he told me. I'm going to say it. Okay. He said, A students teach and B students work for C students. And I said, what? He said, yeah. He said, I'm an A student. I've always taught, he said, when I get into the private sector in the world, I'm always wanting to be the one that does it right. And he said, and B students are always wanting to be A students, but they can hang with C students. And C students seem to be the ones that always can make people laugh and have a good time. And those are the people that get work from clients. And I said, man, you forget, this is crazy. This is crazy. I said, you're trying to make me feel good about getting a 70 or 75 every time I finish a project. He said, come back to see me in 30 years. He died before I could, but if I could come back, I'd say, I now get it, even though I don't subscribe 100% to that, but I do understand now what you were trying to tell me. Balance your career. That's basically what he was telling me. Don't worry about this situation because I'm attracted to a certain type of design theory or practicality or whatever, and you don't like it. Deal with it. There's another opportunity out there, and there's another professor you're going to do well with, and you're going to get along. So I hate I had to say that because I have academicious people out here on this other side of this, but I share that to say, if you find yourself in a trap, don't stay in there and know that there's an opportunity that you can dig yourself out of it. And that was my opportunity, even though I didn't like it. I shared it. I shared it with other people. I never did share it with people that I felt that couldn't handle it. Because some people will take that and go, well, I'll just make a C and see my way on out of here. No, that's not what you have to do. You have to do the best. But if you find yourself where you can't make it through with the grade that you feel that you deserve or you're working hard to obtain, always know there's something you can gather and learn from that challenge that that's put in before you. So
that's wonderful. Time flies when you're having fun. Yeah. I was an A student and I'm teaching, so there's some truth to that.
We need A students, believe me, because without A students, you don't have people to come in here, and you don't produce. The students are not coming out into the world and being able to make things happen and keep building standing and creating great spaces for people to live in and to work in. So keep doing what you're doing. I'm jealous. I couldn't be in your shoes.
Well, thank you, Paul, so much. We have a winner. I'd like to announce the winner, Gilberto Carvajal at the University of Colorado Boulder. Gilberto is our scholarship winner. Well, thank you, Paul, so much for the insightful conversation. Before we say goodnight, we would like to say thank yous to our sponsors, the University of Florida Rinker School of Construction, Arizona State University Dowell Webb School of Construction, and University of Colorado at Boulder Construction Engineering and Management Program. Thank you again, and we learned a lot, and it was a very enjoyable conversation. We look forward to seeing you all in 2025. I can't believe it already.
Thank you, and thank you for the and congratulations to the scholarship recipients. Go Buffaloes! Got a good year this year.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Have a good night.